Hey guys, this episode we're going to be building a little Ruby gem to calculate when Black Friday is every year. This week is actually Thanksgiving week. Black Friday is the day after Thanksgiving here in the US. It looks like there are a bunch of other countries that also have Black Friday. We definitely know Canada does because Shopify always has their real-time stats of Black Friday sales. And it's kind of wild how much, how much business happens over that week or weekend. So we're going to be building a little Ruby module that will calculate Black Friday, it will calculate Thanksgiving, Cyber Monday, and a few of those dates so that you can figure out when you want to run your sale. I usually do like either a week or maybe Black Friday through Cyber Monday, but there are also things like Cyber Week, which is, I guess, Cyber Monday through Cyber Friday. But it's up to you to decide when you want to run your sales, but we could give you a little Ruby library that will calculate the dates so then you can figure out, okay, I want my sale to run from Monday through Cyber Monday and run it for a week or something like that. So let's dig in. Instead of building a Rails plugin for this, we're going to do Bundle Gem and we'll call it Black Friday. And the reason for that is because this library is just going to be a very simple Ruby module that has a few methods on it that calculates those dates. And the only dependency we really need on this is going to be active support to use its helpers for calculating dates and things like that. So we don't actually need Rails for that. So if we look at the gem and what is created, we have lib.blackfriday.rb, which is the entry point for our code, and then our version file, which is the version number of the gem, and a bunch of other, default stuff that comes with the gems that Bundler creates. And the first place I want to start with is the gem spec. This is where you define all your descriptions and other things for your gem, and then the dependencies are listed here. So we're going to add a dependency for active support. This is without the underscore. Requiring it uses the underscore, a little confusing. But that will give us the active support dependency, which we can then run bin setup or bundle install, which will do the same thing. Bin setup is added to gems now, so that you can have this little bash script that runs bundle install, maybe does, other things that might need to be, installed or whatever it is. In this case, just bundle install is all we need. And we also have bin console, which is very similar to the Rails console. It loads IRB, but also makes sure that it loads our gem and everything is set up correctly for that. So now we can start defining our Black Friday methods that we want people to use. So we'll have Thanksgiving as one of the methods. We will need Cyber Monday, Black Friday, and honestly, I might make these endless methods. We might have to require the latest, or a more recent version of Ruby. This could be more backwards compatible if we just did full methods, but I really like these for simple things like this because Black Friday is basically Thanksgiving plus one.day, and that's it. And then Thanksgiving plus 4.days is Cyber Monday. So we add Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, 4 days, and we get Cyber Monday. So we just need to calculate what Thanksgiving is. And that's a little trickier because we need this to be basically the first Thursday plus 3 weeks. So we get the fourth Thursday of the month. We need to figure out the first Thursday, though, and the only way we can do that is by finding out what November 1st is. And we have to set that up because if we look at the calendar for November, this year, November 1st is a Friday, but it could be a Thursday. And if it is a Thursday, then we end up basically shifting a week up for Thanksgiving and Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And this year is an example of where it's wrapping around. Cyber Monday is actually in December instead of November. And so this is where things get a little bit tricky, where we need to figure out what's the first day of November. Is it a Thursday? If so, we'll use that. If it is not, let's find the next Thursday from wherever we are. So if we're a Friday, we need to find the next Thursday by using a little calculation. And we actually get some cool stuff from from active support to do this. So we're going to need to require active support. The easiest thing to do right now is just to require all of active support, but really we should be doing just the integer extensions and whatever other calculation methods that we need, and just, simplify this, but we'll get all of active support so we have everything available. So November 1st is a date where we need to create a new date, date today dot year. So that will give us the current year. Then we need to get the 11th month and the first date in that month, which should create a new date out of those. Let me wrap this in parens so it's a little easier to read. And then basically we want for our first Thursday to check if November 1st is a Thursday. That is a method we can get from active support, I believe, on date. And then that basically says, okay, that's our first Thursday. Otherwise, we want to take November 1st and find the next occurring Thursday. And that'll give us the date back, and then we can add 3 weeks to it to get Thanksgiving, add a day to get Black Friday, and add 4 days to get Cyber Monday. And so this one we can probably also shrink down to a one-liner. And these methods right now are instance methods on our module. So the options we have, or we could say like class, self, and define these on the class. We could also go through each one of those methods and say define self.November 1st. But when we have several methods like this, it's easier to put it in a class block. We could also, if we wanted to include this module somewhere else, we could probably also do and extend self in here. So we define those instance methods on the module, and then we can add them as class methods using extend, basically adding the module's methods to itself on the class level. So if we run bin console here, we should be able to say Black Friday.Thanksgiving, and we get Thursday, November 28th. And we can confirm that on the calendar here. See that Thursday, November 28th is correct. And then that means that Black Friday should be the 29th. So say Black Friday.Black Friday 29th. We can also do Cyber Monday. And there we go, December 2nd, and that is correct. So that's the Monday after Thanksgiving. Perfect. So now we have all of these, and they're giving us back them as dates. And I don't think time zones will really matter for this because it's really, consistent regardless of the time zones. It's more the year that you're in that matters the most. You will need, when you're figuring out this to build your range of your sale, you might have to say, for example, we want to take Black Friday, and then that's going to give us a date, and then we can use that to calculate like what the Monday is for that. And so we could say, I believe just .Monday, if I remember right, it will give us the Monday of that week that it is in. So that goes to November 25th on the calendar. It will take us back from the 28th of Thanksgiving or Black Friday or whatever to the 25th. So then you could use this to build a range and say like beginning of day to get a time for the first second of the day of Monday. And then you get this time object, and then you could build a range from that Monday until the end of Cyber Monday and say this is our Black Friday sale range. So we could say Black Friday, Cyber Monday dot end of day in order to get a range between those two times. And this would be what you would end up with as, checking to see if your sale is currently going on or not. But this gives us all of those as dates. Potentially, we could swap this over to times if that made any more sense, but I don't think it really does. Maybe it saves us a little something. Not really, I don't think, because we'd still, if we're going to build a range from, for our sale, if it was only Black Friday, you'd say Black Friday dot beginning of day until the end of day. And that would be your range for checking to see is the current time within that range. then yes, our sale prices are available and not otherwise. So that is a really tiny little tiny Ruby gem that we've created, but it'd be great for us to write some tests for this. So I'm going to pull these up side by side. And what we really want to do here is build some tests that are going to basically evaluate this for the specific year. And so this is where it becomes a little bit of a problem where we say, oh, date today, year is not changeable. And so if we were to try to write a test for this, we could say, okay, let's write a test and say assert equal date.new 2024 11 and 28 was the day. So if we say Black Friday Thanksgiving, our test should pass, right? So this is going to give us, let's see, it ran standard automatically, okay. Standard wants to have spaces in between those. We can run probably rake test to just run our test. There we go. And our test passes. So it's telling us, yes, Black Friday is for Thanksgiving Day is the 28th. However, when we run these tests next year in 2025, this test is going to fail because it's going to be 2025. So what we really need to be able to do here is provide for, say, all of these methods, we might need to specify the year. And so it might make more sense to say like the year is date today.year. Then we'd have to pass that in to each of these year. Maybe we'll make it not a, let's move these down or over, and that's fine. If we did it as keyword args, you'd have to say year is year for each one of those, and that would get a little bit redundant, and I don't think we're going to have any other examples or needs for that. So we probably would have to do this like so, which might get a little bit annoying. But it does make this more flexible for testing. So we can change this to year. We check to see if November 1st for that year is the Thursday. Then we return that November 1st. This is one of those times where like the one-liner probably does not make as much sense. So we would want to push this over and say like date equals November 1st. Or maybe say day, I don't know, day is Thursday. Then we return the day. Otherwise, we take the day and get the next recurring Thursday. November 1st then has that year being used. Then we also have to do the same thing for Thanksgiving for this year. So you can see that the complexity of this code has really grown quite a bit because now we have this argument. We've got to inject that dependency, which is the date for the current year. The test should still pass, but then we should be able to Thanksgiving Day. We should be able to then say, let's do 2025 and 2026, and we can then say 2025, 2026, 2024, and ensure that our tests are correct. So let's go look at the calendar though. So we go to 2025. Thanksgiving is the 27th there. So this should be changed to the 27th. Oops. And then we'll go to 2026. Then November 1st is on a Sunday. So this is where the 26th comes into play. 26. Oops, there we go. And we might be able to find like a year that's an exception that say we'll go a couple more years, see if we run into any situation where yes, here for 2029 the first day of November is on that Thursday, so we have the 22nd. So we'll do that one as kind of our exception to include here. So if we run rake test now, what we want to see is all these are correct. And here we go with that 2029 argument would be very helpful. There we go. So now it passes, and we have kind of one of the examples of that first day of the month being a Thursday already. Because if we didn't have this check here and see if it was already a Thursday, then we'd end up skipping to the second week and trying to find the 5th Thursday of the month, which would not be good. So there we go. That works well. We can then add exceptions in here to try and find those. But if we were in Rails land, what we would end up being able to do is freeze time. We could use the test helper and always use date.today.year, and we wouldn't have to have these arguments. But one of the benefits of this is that while our test suite kind of encourages or needs this complexity here in the arguments in order to test this, we can also go and check what day Thanksgiving is for any year, as opposed to without these arguments, we could only look at the current year. And we could, in our test suite in Rails, freeze time to next year and check it, and that would be okay. But our library would not necessarily be more flexible. What's great about this is now we have the flexibility of giving it the year. It will use the current year by default. And we don't really have a way to test that because the current year, we'd have to do the calculation anyways. So it's like testing the exact same code, and we wouldn't be able to write a good test for that. But hard coding these expected values is what you want in your test suite. So this works good. And this will run any year, anytime. We could go into the future 30 years, and this code will still check the exact same thing for those. And we can go through and fill out the exact same thing for each of these other days. So, Black Friday is basically going to be the same here. If we change Thanksgiving to Black Friday, then all of these are just slightly different. We have 28th, 27th, 23rd, and we just add the single day to all of those. And we can basically reuse the same dates for all of these because it will affect Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and Cyber Monday for each one. So let's do that one more time for this. And we will paste this in, and we will say Black Friday becomes Cyber Monday. We'll change that. This one is a little special because it moves over into December. But then these other ones, we just add 3 more days to it. And this one, actually, 2025, does go over too, doesn't it? So let's go back to 2025. Monday is December 1st. So that one is another one of those exceptions. So we'll say that. We will have Cyber Monday for all of those. This should be the 30th for 2026. Just confirm that real quick here. 30th. There's only 30 days in November, and 2029 will add 3 more days, so the 26th should be the correct date for that. Perfect. All of our tests are passing. We really don't need to write tests for the first Thursday, but we could if we wanted to, because we've ended up basically already including that logic in our tests for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and Thanksgiving. So these methods are almost, you could make them private methods so that they, are hidden away from users or whatever, but it might be useful to have those anyways if somebody's doing some interesting calculations or some additional stuff going on there. So I don't see any reason to kind of hide these. It just makes sense to kind of leave them as is. But we really only need to test our public interface that we expect people to be using, which would be Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and Cyber Monday. So yeah, that looks good. We get our objects back. Potentially, there's an argument to use times instead, but I think the dates are kind of the ideal thing here. We don't need the extra time information. And this is going to depend on, making sure your server has the correct date or whatever, but that should be fine. That should not be an issue. And last, really, the only other addition I would like to do here is take active support /all and reduce it down to like the numeric date time extensions, and then whatever it takes here for date to get next occurring, which we can probably find in these things. So like I pulled up Rails and found numeric time requires active support durations. This is what adds the methods to numerics. So you can say 2.minutes or 2.hours and whatever. Then also the core extension for date class. I imagine, yes, conversions into different formats. So that's converting 2 times and whatnot. Probably calculations. Yes, beginning of week. It's also one of those things where there is the ability to set what is the beginning of the week for you. So you might be living somewhere where the beginning of the week is actually Monday instead of Sunday. And so that could be something that would affect your calculations here too. Since we're in the US, I think that's fine. I actually don't know about other countries and where Black Friday is, a holiday or a sale day. I don't know if actually there are others that change that. That's a really good question. So there may be some other adjustments that we have to add in here, but we could take active support core extension date calculations and try to use that. So active support core extension date calculations. And we also wanted to require active support core extension numeric time. I believe that's the one that we looked at, just gives us that. And then really the only other thing I think we use is that next occurring here. And I assume that's in here, and I don't see it actually. Maybe not. Next. Oops. We want inside Rails. Go back there. Sorry, next occurring. Date and time calculations. Interesting. Next occurring date.today. So then does this... just curious, this is the module date and time. I'm not sure if it extends this on both date and time, I assume then. Because there's also the date time objects. That's what I thought it referred to, but maybe these date and time are applied to both. Let's look at date, require date time. So that's for that. Date and time must be something that is loaded just for both of those. So we want date and time calculations. So we'll go up here, date and time calculations. Let's run our tests, see if they still pass. They do. And now we are down to just the features of active support that we really need. If we comment out either one of these, running rake test is going to pass. Let's see. Numeric time. I wonder if numeric time has a dependency on that. Numeric time calculations, date calculations. Interesting. Date calculations. Next. See, oh, I see. This also ends up requiring date time calculations. So we're going to end up with all of these extra requires just by doing numeric time. So if we grab that, that's kind of the key. Oops, let's go back to VS Code. That's kind of the key that we need, which allows our test to pass. So that's the only one that we actually have to have here in order to make this work. So that's great. So I think we're basically done here. So that's our gem. We can then push this up to our GitHub repository and release this as a library that you can now install into your gem file and use this in your Rails applications. And you'll build on top of this. Like I said, you'll create a range from whatever day you want to start your sale until whatever day you want to end it. But you can use our dates from this library for Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and Cyber Monday to figure out, do you want to run it for Cyber Week, Cyber Monday to Cyber Friday? Maybe you want Monday of Thanksgiving week until the end of Cyber Week on that Friday and run it for 2 weeks. You can do that too. So this is just a starting place for you to add your own Black Friday sales to your Rails applications, or actually anything in general, because this would work for Hanami or Sinatra or whatever else, so long as we have that active support extension for numeric time, we are good to go. So that is it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you in the next one. And by the way, if you want to grab any of our Black Friday deals this week, they will be available for GoRails, Hatchbox, Jumpstart, our courses, and sellrepo.com. So check them out. Just want to do our sales every year to say thank you for all the support that you guys give us. We really appreciate it, and hope to see you at RailsConf next year or something as well. So talk to you all then.